What's going on, dear people? This is your boy, just coming back in. Wanted to do a quick video on something that just came to mind when I was, of course, driving down the road. There's a lot of contemplations, a lot of thoughts and things that come to mind as I'm traveling down the road. But I was thinking back to the regression that I did with Q a little ways back in March, and it dawned on me exactly what I experienced. And what I experienced was the answer to a question that I had been pondering about for quite some time. And that question was, where did all of this begin? Like, how did this universe get here? How did I get here? And things of that nature. And I'm going to keep this short because the regression that I did with Q was probably about an hour long. So I would not take you down that road right now. But I'm just going to take you to the part that actually answered my question, which is, how was this universe formed? And in the regression, now this is what I experienced in my regression, which is that I was shown that there was an entity, a male form entity, that left a higher realm because for whatever reason he felt outcasted. And in most cases, it actually feels like he only outcasted himself. It was more of jealousy, like, hey, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna do my thing and it's gonna be better than yours. That's the type of feel that it had from it, this type of arrogance. And that entity created what we know as now is Earth and humans. But he was not able to create humans on his own. He had to get help. This all powerful being, I'm going to create this and go down here and do this, and you ain't. But hey, I'm going to need some help. I actually realized that I don't know exactly how to put this together. So in this regression that I had with Q, there was another group or race of entities that helped this main entity that fell from a higher being out of jealousy, whatever it may be, and helped him in creating human life in this earth that he created. Now, what happened is that the material that he used in order to create these humans, in which he had these other entities and helping out. And I'm saying this on purpose because there's so many creation stories, so I'm not going to put a name on things, because when I look back to all the creation stories, they really all line up. This is what happens when you step back and you look at the patterns and you don't get all emotionally involved in the religion systems. Then you can actually see it for what it is, which is a variations of storytelling one story, which is your story, which is my story. But these entities helped that fallen entity. I'll say fallen entity, so that way we can actually keep it in alignment. Help this fallen entity in creating human beings on this planet in order to rule over them. See, he wanted to rule over these race of beings that he created in this reality. But when people get really full of themselves and they think that they know it all and they can go out here and achieve this and achieve that, they miss some of the minor details that can actually help them in being successful. And one of the minor details that he left out is that the material that he was using in order to create humans actually contained the very spark of the divine of the higher realms in which he came from. And I was shown how this world was created, and it's not as beautiful and as glorious as I wanted to believe that it was, but now it gives me something further to reach for, which is how did the even higher realms come into existence. And actually I got a little glimpse of it from listening to one of Bobby Hemmitt's lectures. If any of you all are Patreons on Serious Time Media, if you look at the most recent one that was put out, today is May the 19th. It was the most recent one from this date, just to kind of date this video. But in that video, he made a mention of the black dot. And the black dot is from where everything originates. But here's the kicker. That black dot exists in us. It exists in me. That is right in here. It's that black dot. If we go back into it, all of this is done. That's a whole nother story for another day. But in understanding this creation story, when you look at all of the ones over the years from ancient Egypt and beyond up into present day, it always says that this God is a jealous God, because that jealous God understands that the thing in which he created is actually better than him. It's kind of like how being a parent, when you realize that sometimes that your kids are better than you. And so, because that God understood that the human race is greater than him, he had to subdue and keep that race of people ignorant to their true power, so that he can actually utilize their power for his own benefit. But this power that the human race has is way greater than he can ever contain. And so it's splitting them apart. And right now we're feeling that in the world that we're experiencing right now. I mean, just look around. It's pretty chaotic. Things are going this way, it's going that way. It's wild. That's because things are pulling apart at the seams. But for those who have stepped into this knowledge and understanding their greatness and from which they came from, you know, we always had this question, where do we come from? There's no place. What we came from is divine. Is this the pure essence of everything that is? That's where we came from. It's not so much Pleiadians or Arturians or Sirius or Lemuria, Atlantis, things of this nature. That's only a byproduct of coming from something that's divine and higher than those areas. We come from a divine source. That's where we come from. And so understanding that we come from a divine source, it gives us power and it feeds our soul. This is very similar to the video that I put out on Instagram a few days ago, showing this tiny little plant that was, well, it's getting bigger now, but it started growing in an area where it shouldn't grow. And based off of the way that this fallen entity constructed this environment, we were not supposed to grow, but we are. Now, here's the beautiful thing about it. And this is just a download that I'm getting. This is an insight that came from my higher self, and I'm just sharing it with you. And if it resonates, awesome. If it doesn't, oh well, it's still awesome. But there's really nothing else that you need to do. You are ascending in this very moment, in this very second. You are ascending. Now, as far as the rate in which you are ascending, that's all about your experience and what you're going through and how far you have developed on your journey. You are ascending, but the rate in which you are ascending depends on your experience, your knowledge, and what actions are you currently taking. Are you really digging in deep into your shadow work and figuring out those root issues? Are you unlearning all of the bullshit that was taught to us over these past decades, over these last millennia of information that has been poured into us? Are you unlearning those things? Are we detaching ourselves from the material wealth and understanding that it's all an illusion when you actually... Are you breaking yourself away from the physical and moving more towards the spiritual? Because at one point the spiritual used to be as visible as you see me right now, but it has gone away. But it is coming back. That's a part of what everybody's talking about, the veil falling away, which means that veil is hiding the spiritual world so that we can actually see it now. And I don't know about you, but I feel it and I see it very strongly. You can just look in certain areas around in your neighborhood and just something feels off. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But just to recap here, I just realized today that I actually got the answer on what I was looking for as far as how was this world created. And fact is stranger than fiction. And when I say that you can see these patterns in all the different creation stories, if you look at Genesis in the Holy Bible, if you look at the Norse mythology, if you look at the Dogon mythology, if you look into the Ifa tradition on how, oh gosh, the name of that name, I want to say Obatala, but it's not Obatala. And for those in the Ifa tradition, y'all probably know who I'm talking about. Orunmila is the one who created. When you look at all these creation stories, they all have a certain pattern. And when you look at that pattern, you can figure out the truth. Because it's like that game that we used to play back in school where you say a sentence and you pass it along to somebody else, but by the time it goes through probably the fifth person, the whole story has changed. And so the original story of the creation of this universe has been changed over years, but when you look at it, the answer is within the stories. And what I've come to realize is that that special material that's within us, that's within you, is causing us to ascend whether we want to or not. And the infrastructure that was in place to keep us from growing to a certain amount, it's kind of like a farmer trying to corral the crop so it doesn't grow outside of its bounds. But at this point, those infrastructures have fallen and we are growing outside of those restrictions. Just like that plant that is growing underneath the concrete from a house on top of it, it is still growing. You are growing, you are ascending. Now with videos that we're going to put out later, as far as in any shape, form, or fashion to help accelerate your process in ascending, we'll do our best to put that information out, and hopefully it resonates with you. If you do have any suggestions on anything, please feel free to comment below, let us know, and we'll touch on those topics, because we're all about going back home. And right now, I know that this is the time for us to lock in on our spiritual gifts and really create the world that we want to live in. Alicia and I are doing it right now. She's actually out doing the things that she needs to do in order to secure the things that she's working on. And just know, when my baby comes back on these videos, oh, y'all are in for a treat. Oh my goodness, just be on the lookout for that. But anyway, we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for your support, and we will see you all on the next go round. Peace out.